Greetings, one and all, to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. Our YouTube channel content creator actively alienating everyone in both the analog and digital world. Welcome and good evening, wonderful dice of all alignments. I am Lunar T8. No problem. Where's your father? My stepfather doesn't come home much. Uh-huh. Since when? When did he come home last? I don't know. Heard he's living with a woman who works at a club in Okinawa or something. I don't remember exactly when, but I guess I saw him a few weeks ago. Uh-huh. Do you have your father's address? No. He's living with a woman who works at a club. Do you know the name of the place? No. I know it's in Okinawa, and that's all. What's your father's name? Teppei Hojo. Oishi signaled Kumagai with his chin, who nodded while taking notes. Were your mother and father getting along well? I don't know much about that, but I don't think so. I see. I want you to tell me honestly, do you know anyone who might have been holding a grudge against your stepmother? I don't. Uh-huh, alright. Please let me know if you remember something. Here's my card. My number is on it. Okay. I might ask to see you again for further inquiries, and if you see your stepmother, please let him know that we want to contact him. Kuma-chan, drive him home, will you? Oh, no. I can go home by myself. Please let us drive you home. There's a possibility the culprit who murdered your aunt is roaming around the neighborhood. You might get hurt, too. Thank you for your consideration. But really, I'm fine. Satoshi tried to reject the offer, but Oishi and Kumagai insisted. In the end, Satoshi was forced to accept. He turned around to leave, when Oishi spoke to him as if he remembered something he'd forgotten to say. Hojo-san. Yes? Don't worry. It's no problem. We'll catch the culprit soon. Do you have any leads? Yes, we do. Like what? That's confidential. Nyahaha. Ordinary people might think that Oishi was trying to cheer the poor kid up with a joke. Well, usually people get pretty worked up when they commit murder, though of course, there are some exceptions. What kind of evidence do you find when the culprit's worked up? When someone's in a very excited condition, their body shows many symptoms, like sweat, loss of hair. We often find the culprit's hair at crime scenes. Well, this is outside, so it's a bit different, but still. Did you find their hair? I don't know yet. The forensic guys are searching the scene right now. I'm anxious to see what they'll bring me. Excuse me, I have to go now. Please, Kuma-chan, would you? Sure. See you again soon, Hojo-san. I'll let you know if there's any progress in the investigation. Let me know when you remembered something. Let's cooperate to catch the murderer of your stepmother. And remember, Oishi is a different person depending on which timeline we're in. Sis called the morning after the Tanagashi festival to tell me that the curse had struck again for the 4th time. The victim was the evil aunt who was harassing Satoshi-kun and Satoko. Satoshi-kun's suffering should be over now since the problem with Satoko and the aunt's relationship to begin with. Maybe I should have celebrated, but I wasn't in the mood for some reason. Were you really hoping that much for the disappearance of Satoko? Do the police have a lead on the suspect? Sis went quiet when I asked that. I don't know. Oishi seems to be questioning people in the neighborhood. He thinks the culprit is somebody close to the victim. Being identical twins, Sis and I think very much alike. If I suspected Satoshi-kun of being the murderer, so would she. Because of this, I didn't have to mention the obvious. Does Satoshi-kun have an alibi for that day? I don't know. Ha. I heaved a huge sigh. I mean, it was that obvious to assume Satoshi did it. You guys could have, I don't know, talked to him before. Again, it's still his fault, but honestly, under the circumstances, I don't think he should be blamed. And if Oishi's that, upset about trying to find the culprit, let's be clear. Maybe you should have done something before it got to that point. Maybe you should have actually cared, but oh well. I heaved a huge sigh. Are you stupid? He was at the festival. Didn't you see him there? Yeah, right. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that. I heaved another sigh. Sis was stupid enough to forget to make an alibi for him, even though the murder of his aunt alone would raise enough suspicion. I mean, that works perfect. It's not like it's a small town and everybody in the town is at the, festival. Oh. That's how. Wait, which of you did it? Obviously this is timeline of the Watanagashi Chapter 2. We're currently playing Chapter 5. And this Chapter 5, Meakashi, is, it's the events of Chapter 2. So, we're in Game 5, and Game 5 is, we're playing from Shion's perspective, but Game 5 is in, Game 2 is the same story, but from Keiichi's perspective. Game 1, 2, and 3 are from Keiichi's perspective. Game 4 is from the detective from Tokyo's perspective, who came here 5 years ago. This game is from Shion's perspective. 6, 7, and 8, I'm not sure whose perspective they're from. But this tells me something. This is obviously we're at the other end. We're a different perspective of Game 2. And we're in Game 5. Game 3, Tatara Goroshi. Obviously from Keiichi's perspective. We murdered Teppei, but there was another me at the festival. How did that happen? Simple. This game is a past thing of Timeline 2. Which this is a constant for most timelines. So both in the Watanagashi timeline and the Tatara Goroshi timeline, these events happened exactly like this. Which means in the other timeline, which we're not going into, we're going to Timeline 2. But these same events happen in Timeline 3, where Keiichi beats Teppei to death in the forest with a baseball bat. Obviously, if we already assumed Satoshi did the stuff, we didn't come up with this idea of an alibi until afterwards, because we didn't know he was going to kill his aunt. But there were some signs. But here's the thing. This eventually became a problem because it's a small town. everybody was at the festival. So if we try to have an alibi of, oh, Satoshi was at the festival, well, literally there's thousands of witnesses that say, no, he wasn't. And that's very bad. So obviously that means when the future part of the alternate timeline comes in, which will probably either be game 6 or 7, we know ahead of time that when Keiichi says, hey, can you take care of Satoko? It's word for word what Satoshi said under a very similar circumstance. So we all assumed that he was going to kill Teppei. That means we had somebody dress up as Keiichi and pretend to be me. Now, who would actually be able to do that? They're like, did Mion and all the others go around? But then, like, Shion showed up dressed up as me? How did Shion pass for me? How did that work? But that being said, if you guys knew ahead of time to try to make a alibi for me while I'm going and beating Teppei to death, maybe in that circumstance you guys should have talked to me. If you already are like straight up, you knew, hey, word for word, this is happening the same. So it should be obvious that Keiichi's planning to commit murder, so we're going to make an alibi for him that he's not aware of. But in that situation, shouldn't you have, I don't know, stopped him from the murder? Since you knew? You could have talked to him ahead of time. So that means he did do it? That's not important now. The problem is whether he has an alibi or not. Well, the police are going to come here later. I'll tell them I was with him at the festival. Sis? Lying out of the blue like that won't work. If you haven't done anything to ensure his alibi, it's too late now. Please just be honest with them. I can't trust your acting skills. You might raise more suspicion if you make something up on the spot. Yeah, sorry. She sounded depressed. I was the one who should have been depressed. Mion usually handles things well, but she's not too good with emergencies. I was left worried for the future of the Sonozaki family. Mion must have been embarrassed. She soon changed the subject. I guess you haven't been able to work lately, have you? You're right, I haven't. Thanks to you. I'm sorry about that. I'll hide somewhere until tonight. So maybe you can work today? Sis has been appearing in public places during festival preparations and whatnot. Not her fault. As a result, I hadn't been able to pretend to be her. I hadn't been able to work. As someone who had to support myself, it was a bit of a pain. To be honest, I didn't feel like working. But I couldn't afford to be sitting around either. When I locked my apartment door before leaving, the door of the next apartment over opened, and Kasai appeared. Shion-san, are you heading out? Yeah. I'm going to work since this gave me time until tonight. Can you give me a ride? Shion-san, wouldn't it be safer for you to take a few days off? The police seem to be staking out the main house. I don't think it's a good idea to leave. I appreciate your concern, but I have to make money to survive. Kasai might suggest he donate money to my cause. However, I had sworn myself when I started living here that I wouldn't depend on Kasai. While I don't disobey anyone else's rules, I stick to my own. Kasai could tell that I was adamant in my decision. So after repeating himself a couple times, as a formal procedure, he decided to give me a ride after all. Every time we went to my uncle's store, by car, we stopped at this traffic light. I knew it was going to happen again, but it still irritated me. Pedestrians passed by in front of the car. I was startled to see the one of them looked like Satoshi-kun. It was him. Though I had spoken with him on the phone just a couple of days before, it had been a while since I saw him last. Kasai, sorry, but could you tell my uncle that I can't come today? I'm getting off here. What? Shion-san. Kasai looked taken aback, but I got out of the car regardless. The light turned green. The car behind him honked as Kasai was shouting at me, so he had to start moving. Satoshi-kun was on his bike, but he was going really slowly. I caught up with him in a flash and tapped him on the back. Hello? I'm surprised to see you in Okonomiya, Satoshi-kun. If I talked to him with a smile, he might smile back. So I smiled as brightly as I could. Mion. He looked tired as always. You know, the irony of this is later on she's like, I'm doing everything for Satoshi. But like, one, everything she does is stuff that he would not want her to do, and that would only make her hate her. And two, it's like, well, Satoshi loved me. He never knew you existed. He looked tired as always, but as I could tell, he was trying to smile back. My worries suddenly disappeared. I was certain I looked happy. I was aware of that myself, so it must have been obvious to Satoshi-kun. I don't know the circumstances, but you look happy. Yeah, I am happy. I'm happy because you look happy. When I teased him, he looked a bit embarrassed. It was like we were back in the good old days. I felt even happier than before. What's going on, Satoshi-kun? Did something good happen? Not really. My aunt died, and I have to deal with the police and the neighbors. I might have asked something dumb. He seems to be okay with it, though. He frowned a bit at first, but Satoshi-kun continued smiling gently. He looked worn out, but satisfied, like he had accomplished something great. That was the mood I sensed from him. So I was convinced the one who killed the wicked aunt who tormented Satoko was him. I had absolutely no proof, but I knew it intuitively. So I admitted all those questions. I knew Satoshi-kun's motive for killing his aunt, and how badly he was driven into a corner. I knew the environment and the situation he was in. And I knew Satoshi-kun's feelings. I knew all of that, so I admitted all of those questions. I wanted to celebrate his release from that curse, so I smiled like nothing was different as I asked, Where are you going, Satoshi-kun? To work? That's right. I have to make a stop before that, though. A stop? I have to make sure it's still there, otherwise I'll continue feeling really anxious. That conversation reminded me. The reason he started his part-time job was to buy Satoko a huge teddy bear. It was being sold at the toy store just down the street. I recalled that the teddy bear was very expensive. Satoko's birthday was right after the festival. I wasn't sure what day, though. Wait, didn't he say he quit his job? Maybe he was going to greet his ex-coworkers and clean out his locker or something. Either way, he'd be completely free very soon. Maybe he hadn't been paid yet. That's why he wanted to check if they still had the teddy bear. Maybe he was only getting paid on Satoko's birthday. When we got near the toy store, he rushed to the display window. He looked relieved that it hadn't been sold yet. Good, good. All right. It's still there. You've earned enough money already, haven't you? Why don't you reserve it? He probably hadn't thought of that. He really did need someone to look after him. I looked in the display window over his shoulder. The teddy bear wasn't that cute, in my opinion. It looked huge and cramped in the middle of the store's showcase. Really, it looked more like a display model than an item for sale. I don't see a price tag. Is that really for sale? How much is it? Yeah, I'm sure they sell it. What about the price? Does it fit your budget? It's alright, I already checked. Satoshi-kun thought I was teasing him again. He pouted and looked a little sulky. There's no problem then. Why don't you go reserve it now? Then you won't have to feel anxious anymore. We entered the store and looked for a clerk. Is anybody here? Ah, nice. Maybe you can get it without paying. No, Mion. Stealing is bad. I'm just kidding. Trying to make you laugh. Do you think I'd really do that? No, sorry, haha. Satoshi-kun smiled apologetically. I puffed up my cheeks to tease him. It had been really while since last time we did this. In between those times, many undesirable things happened that I wanted to forget, but now I felt as though all those things simply vanished into the air around us. I found an old person napping in the back. He must be the clerk, I thought. He looked to be fast asleep. Excuse me, you work here, right? I poked his shoulder, but he didn't look like he was going to wake up. When he did that, a middle-aged woman wearing an apron came in. Grandpa, you fell asleep again. We have customers. I'm really sorry, you two. He's been very flaky, you know. The middle-aged woman shook the old man awake and told him to go back into the living room. She went to the cash register after that. That was so embarrassing, so how can I help you? I'd like to reserve something. That big teddy bear in the display window. Oh, that one? Are you sure? That one is really expensive. You know that, right? Yes, I think I have enough. He'll get paid really soon, so he'd like to reserve it. The woman looked a bit hesitant at first, but she eventually wrote down Satoshi-kun's name and accepted the reservation. Satoshi-kun received a slip of paper. See? You don't have to worry about the teddy bear anymore. Yeah, I'll get paid soon too. I feel relieved now. He would have kept coming to check every day if he hadn't done this now. He would have spent his time needlessly worrying. Satoshi-kun looked very relieved indeed. I should have done it sooner. Usually people do that right away when they want something. I don't know, given the way this clerk behaved, if we had tried earlier, they probably wouldn't have agreed. It's very rare for somebody not to think of that. So it's very fun to tease him. Those painful days seem unbelievable now. Satoshi-kun looked like he'd forgotten everything that had happened up until yesterday. Anyway, thanks. Satoshi-kun held out his hand and touched my head. Was he going to stroke it? I felt my face reddening already. Even before he touched my head, I felt tingly. I remembered the last time. I didn't care about the murder or whatever else happened. As long as Satoshi-kun had his freedom, everything would be all right. I'd be content as long as we could live happily from today onward. But Satoshi-kun's hand never reached my head. I slowly opened my eyes, only realized that the situation had drastically changed. There were 4 men in suits blocking our way. This is the episode where Shion gets cock-blocked. It looked as though they had been waiting for us to exit the toy store. Hello, hello. The oldest of the 4 men stepped forward while smirking. I'd never met this man, but it looked like he knew both Mion and Satoshi-kun. He was probably a cop. I ran a search for information in my head and found some right away. Good to see both of you, Hojo-san and Sonozaki-san. I'm sorry to bother you at a time like this. This must be Oishi, the cop who is investigating the series of mysterious deaths. He thinks that the Sonozaki family is behind all the cases. In other words, he's an enemy of the Sonozaki family. He has deep connections with other investigation divisions in the police force and likes to nose around in the business of this area. He annoys the Sonozaki family enough as to by interfering with the Yakuza business, let alone suspicions on the series of mysterious deaths. Naturally, as a family successor, he's not a welcome figure to Mion Sonozaki. I tried to imagine how Sis would react. Oh, Oishi-san, thank you for working hard for our safety. Oh, the 4 of us, you want something from the toy store? A doll, maybe? Peh. I know what they want, and it's not a toy. It's probably not me, either. They want Satoshi-kun. I took a lot at Satoshi-kun. He seemed a bit uncomfortable. The other 3 cops loosely surrounded us to prevent our escape. Hojo-san, I'd like to talk to you about something. What for? Are you taking him to the station? You don't have to go with them, Satoshi-kun. Let's get out of here. I pushed on his shoulder, but he just stood there looking pale and bewildered. Bewildered? No, he actually looked resigned. Then I recalled Sis's mistake. It's obvious that he killed his aunt from the circumstances. You don't even have to look at the crime scene. How could Mion have failed to create an alibi? That stupid Mion must have spoken to the police without making anything up at all. She must have not told them what she knew where Satoshi-kun was. If she hadn't done anything, the villagers wouldn't work to help her. It was just a matter of time until the police uncovered Satoshi-kun's complete lack of an alibi. The police were trying to corner him and lead him to confess. I looked at Satoshi-kun's face once again. He looked like a dead man. He probably didn't know he could refuse to be interrogated. If he was taken to the station and grilled by Oishi, he'd confess in a minute. Somebody had to protect him. Nobody had ever been there for him. I had to step up now. But how? Would it be possible to alter what Mion had already told them, saying it was a mistake, that wasn't going to work? If I had more time, I'd come up with an excellent idea, but I didn't have that much time after all. To pressure him, the cops were drawing near. Satoshi-kun must have felt intimidated. He might end up turning himself in due to the pressure while I'm stuck trying to come up with something. I have to do something now. I have to say something, otherwise Satoshi-kun might give in. I have to save him. Oishi drew nearer. Satoshi-kun fell back. It won't take much time. Come on, don't be scared. It won't take much time. He just said it. He just said he wouldn't let him out if he caught him now. Satoshi-kun, don't give in. If you give in now, everything you've been working for will be ruined. Ooh. Satoshi-kun looked like he was at his breaking point. Oishi was clearly aware of it. Oishi smirked and held out his arm to grab Satoshi-kun's shoulder. I felt electrified when I saw that. That hand shouldn't be allowed to touch Satoshi-kun. You know, I'm just saying, when you went psycho a year later, and killed a bunch of people, you think you would have got to this guy. The moment Oishi touched his shoulder, he'd give in. He'd go to the police station, confess everything. Do you want to know his alibi? Oishi turned his face toward me, his hand left hanging in the air. I wasn't very prepared for this. I just had to stop Oishi no matter what. I only needed to gain some time. It didn't really matter what I said. That's right. I want to get Hojo-san's alibi. Nyahaha, we must not be doing our jobs. We can't seem to confirm his whereabouts at the time of the crime. It's shameful, but we decided to question him in person. You don't have to ask him. I can confirm his alibi. Oh? Really? That'd help. You already told me that you were at the festival that night, and many people can confirm it. It'd be easier if we could confirm that Hojo-san was with you. But I don't think you mentioned him when I questioned you last time, did you? Are you going to change your statement now? Even though no one at the festival saw Hojo-san, are you going to tell me he was with you? That's right. He was with me. Wouldn't that be enough? I know you were there with your other friends that night. I saw that myself. Are you still saying that you were with him? Nyahaha, isn't that a little too hard to believe, isn't it? Oishi approached me with a creepy smile. Was he teasing me because my excuse sounded funny? I didn't think so. He was frustrated due to being interrupted when he was about to catch a big fish. Are you saying that you forgot that you were with him, but just now remembered you actually were? It is interesting, though. Now here's the question. Largely, the events are very similar. It could be that the Oishi in every timeline is like this. But it could be that maybe he learns from his mistakes in other timelines. I would say that the Oishi we see is very much like Watanagashi, where he's not like his hearsay. In Onakakushi in Game 1, he's a very kind, gentle person who cares more about helping people, to the point that when Keiichi's going through stuff, he cares more about protecting Keiichi than upholding his job. He cares more about protecting people than his job duties as a police officer to catch the bad guys or any of that stuff. That's just something he does to help people. Simply put, the Oishi-san of the Onakakushi timeline just wants to help people and legitimately cares about the village of Hinamizawa. What we're seeing here is like the Watanagashi timeline, which may still stay the same in the rest of this game, because this is the Watanagashi timeline, where he cares purely about his duties as a cop. He doesn't care about really helping people, but he's not a fucking asshole about it either. He's literally just caring purely about his job. Like, at the end of Game 2, he used Keiichi as bait to draw out, air quotes, Mion, who was guilty of being a murderer. But it was really Shion pretending to be Mion. but he was willing to sacrifice Keiichi's life and safety to do it. In Game 1, he prioritizes Keiichi and everyone's safety first, above even his job. In Game 2, which this is a parallel of, he cares more about his job than anything else. In Game 3, Totaragiroshi, while he does his job, like in Game 1, he's actually a complete fucking asshole, and he cares more about abusing his power and being sadistic and violent, and actually enjoying a sense of power and control and authority over people, than actually even doing his job. So, Game 1, he actually legitimately cares about people. Game 2, he's just doing his job. Game 3, he's a sadist, and somebody who enjoys abusing his power. And it could be that in Timeline 3 of Totaragiroshi, like, it could be that all these conversations happen like this in every timeline, to where all timelines start with him being the duty-bound police officer. But in the timeline we're in, he stays this way. But in the Onkakushi timeline, he becomes more softer and grows more of a conscience and becomes much more soft and empathetic and kind and caring. Whereas in Timeline 3, he becomes more sadistic, violent, and goes a little bit insane. Mion Sonozaki? I did get a little scared, but I couldn't stop myself. I could save Satoshi-kun if I revealed my true identity. I was aware of the risk. Grandma would certainly capture me if I revealed it. I didn't think of the consequences after that. Notebook page, my real identity. I'm not Mion Sonozaki. I didn't go to the Watanagashi Festival in the first place. Huh? Satoshi-kun and I were talking at a restaurant in Okonomiya at that time. The name of the place is Angelmore. You can confirm that with the owner if you want. Oishi was still smirking, but he apparently felt confused. What are you saying? If you aren't Mion, then who are you? I'm Shion Sonozaki, Mion's twin sister. Pleasure to meet you, Oishi-san. Oishi looked perplexed, like he didn't believe what I'd said. I will say this. If we're going to go this route, especially if, like, Mion Shion were to know, like, right at this moment, like, obviously, if we knew the future of how her grandmother was literally going to be full psycho, obviously we'd have thought things to do ahead of time before we got to this point. But if we suddenly had a vision right this second of what was going to happen, I'd be like, I'm Shion Sonozaki. I was pretending to be my sister because my grandmother is a very over-controlling person who would be violent. I simply was hanging out with Satoshi somewhere else because I'm trying to date him, but I didn't really want to tell him that was Mion, and he really didn't ask questions about the whole if Mion was at. He thought I somehow managed to be in a couple places and left with Rena. That being said, Oishi-san, I have been hiding my identity because of the way my grandmother is. And since I am very worried that because I'm revealing my identity to protect Satoshi, that, well, let's be clear, I think my grandmother was the one responsible for killing Satoshi's aunt in the first place, and his parents for the years before. And I think that even revealing my identity like this, or even her know it because I left the school they put me in, I think the Sonozakis are going to murder me. The only Mion's been helping me. So I need you to protect me and possibly my sister Mion if she might get punished for what I'm doing now. So at this point, like, yeah, you're basically outing yourself to the police to protect Satoshi from, but at this point, there's no reason why, because this guy is the duty-bound version of Oishi. All he cares about is getting a win. All he cares about is doing his job. He doesn't care about protecting people, but here's the thing, he wants a leg up on the Sonozakis. So, if I wind up outing that, hey, I was pretending to be Mion because the leaders of Sonozaki, I fear them, and I think they're responsible for the death of the aunt and everything, here's the thing. He'd jump at that bait. And even if, the elders of Sonozakis actually blame Satoshi for the murder, at this point, there's no reason Oishi would have to believe them. So the best possible course of action we could take in this instant, if we are in this exact moment of the timeline, is to then fully explain that we've been pretending to be our sister because we are, and that's not a lie. We are actually terrified, and, well, with good reason. And we do actually think that they're behind all the murders, and they kind of are. So, technically everything mentioned is completely true. I'm just saying, given what we know in this circumstance, our best option would be to just literally be completely truthful and ask for Oishi's protection. Yes, we might get fully fucking disowned from the Sonozakis anyway, but we're fucking in hiding to begin with. At this point, you know, we can be like witness protection, and we can have me, Satoshi, Mion, and Satoko all fucking like moved somewhere else to be safe. But they're like, oh, what about the curse of Hinamazawa syndrome? Fine, Oishi can live with us. You know, he can be our adoptive father. And he like have half the police station live with us. And then Shion and Satoshi can get married, and Mion and Keiichi can get married. He frowned. I didn't know Mio Sonozaki had a twin sister. Are you trying to fool me? Not at all. Why don't you check my family register or whatever? Should I call Sis? All the cops look bewildered now. Shion? Sonozaki-san? Yes, that's me. Is there anything wrong? Can you come with us? If you're testifying that you were with Hojo-san last night, I'll have to talk to you too. Sure thing. Please go easy on us. The cops gathered at their car and started discussing something. Again, if we're going to go this route, we really do need to just be full. Because here's the thing. Obviously, we thought, you know, the Sonozakis might go easy on us. Then maybe like, oh, they'll be angry because we asked for his protection. But here's the thing. They literally do rip off your fucking fingernails. But here's the thing. And Satoshi dies. If we had literally gone for safety and asked for Oishi protection, here's the thing. Whatever happens to Satoshi-kun wouldn't happen. Because the police would be watching over both of us. Even if it's like a concern that the Sonozakis will murder him. Even if that's not what's going to happen. Having that extra set of eyes would keep Satoshi alive. So literally the only situation in which doesn't result in everyone getting fucking murdered is asking Oishi, like, hey, I've been pretending to be my sister because I'm scared of the rest of my family. I've also been relying on a couple people, but I'm concerned about giving because I fear they'd actually get in trouble. And I don't know if my sister will get punished either. But, yeah, I've been hiding from them because I think they'll hurt me and be very cruel to me. Possibly cut off some fingers or something. Just for the fact I left the school. So, and here's the thing. I think they murdered Satoshi's aunt. I think they murdered his parents and Rika's parents and the damn construction worker and everything. And I'm pretty sure they'll kill me just for saying this to you. So I need your protection for me, Satoshi, Satoko, and Mion. And possibly, you know, Rika. That's literally the only situation where the only path that ends with, you know, not everyone in the entire city dying. Looked like they never expected this to happen. I hope to be able to fix Satoshi-kun's alibi for at least a little while. It shouldn't be too difficult to talk to Sis about this, then forge up an alibi together. Satoshi-kun? Tell them you were chatting with me at Angel Mort that night, no matter what they ask, okay? I'll confirm your alibi. Tell them you don't remember that night too clearly, or maybe you should just keep silent. Satoshi-kun wore a startled expression. Though I was telling him something important, he'd apparently decided not to listen. Can you hear me, Satoshi-kun? You can't mess this up, okay? Okay. He must have been feeling deceived. No wonder. I just confessed that I wasn't Mion, but her twin sister. I really had been deceiving him. Are you upset? Why? Because I've been fooling you. Satoshi-kun started laughing. I didn't know why he'd laugh, because he wasn't the type of person who would laugh in order to hide something. I finally understand why you were weird sometimes in class. I'd been thinking it was a bit strange. Aren't you upset that I've been fooling you? Satoshi-kun looked puzzled. It was like he didn't know whether he should be upset or not. Or maybe he was only pretending to be that way. And again, I mean, he was also from an abusive family. Let's be clear. If we had again been completely straightforward in the middle street with Oishi, or at least told him in the station, hey, I'm actually fucking terrified of the elders in my family. We literally require your protection, since I'm outing myself as Shion. I mean, Satoshi would then understand, oh, right, you were deceiving me because of other people possibly hurting you. Well, possibly is kind of an understatement, given. But hey, I know about... Not that I haven't been hinting at it a bunch, but hey. So this isn't the first time we met, is it? Well, yes, that's right. Okay, how do you write your name? With the characters for poetry and sound. Shion. Huh. That's a beautiful name. Could you please come with us to the station? We can get your instant coffee or tea if you like. Thank you! I need some sugar, though. Again, like, there's so many situations. I know hindsight's 20/20, and I have the benefit of knowing the future. But I'm just saying, even knowing the future at any point, even a piece of it, at any point in this game, you could fix everything, and nobody has to die. Covered for a murderer. Well, I mean, what do you mean not covered for a murder? How could he commit the murder? He was talking with me at Angel Mort. Notebook page 29. Either Satoshi-kun was smart or very lucky. Oh, I didn't mean to click auto. The police found nothing at the crime scene to indicate his involvement in the murder. Yet Satoshi-kun was still the prime suspect. Considering his home environment, he had a strong enough motive. He had no alibi. Okay, given these circumstances, like even ignoring his age, given these circumstances, because here's the thing, that's benefit of a jury trial. One, if you're innocent or there's not enough evidence to prove you, like at this point, it's still a reasonable doubt, so even if it went to trial, he shouldn't be convicted. But even if there was literally hardcore evidence that he completely did it, like even actual like fucking recorded footage of it, though honestly these days anything could be deep faked, but hey, back in the 80s that wasn't a thing. Just saying, in that situation, part of a jury trial is people could look at things and say, hey, yes, he technically committed the letter of the law, but at that point, the members of the jury are allowed to just say, you know what? I'd done the same thing in his situation. And they can just say, declare him innocent anyway. Innocent doesn't, like, you don't have to only, like, as a juror, you're not required to say innocent or guilty based off of literally what happened. You don't have to do that. One, if there's any reason to believe the person's innocent at all, any reasonable doubt, you're required to say they're innocent. That's the thing. It obviously doesn't work both ways. Like, if you feel like there's any chance the person did it, you're not required to say guilty. Like, oh, I think he did it. Because at that point, a lot of people would just start basing, like, well, you know what? Just the way he looks, the clothes he wears. I don't like the way he looked at me when he entered the courtroom or something like that. Or even could be like, oh, the color of his skin, or he's from this country or something like that. No. It should be, if there's any reasonable doubt at all that the person was innocent, you have to say they're innocent. But even if there's a circumstance where they're 100% factually guilty of committing the crime of which they're accused, and there is absolutely no way of denying it, you as a juror still have the ability to declare the person innocent. It is part of a jury trial. It's mainly there to allow common citizens to have some power of veto against an unfair law. That way, a government can't become corrupt and start making an overly unjust law. So at any point, a juror can decide, you know what? Given the circumstances, the person was justified of committing whatever they did, and they don't deserve to be punished at all. Or it could even be, okay, the person's guilty of what they did and they deserve some kind of punishment, but the punishment that the judge is going to give them is way too harsh. So, as juror, then you can then decide, you know what? No, we're declaring you innocent. Now again, these things should only happen in very rare circumstances, but they do exist for a reason to ensure justice. First off, law cannot be just if it's absolute. There have to be an understanding of the way the world works. Like, it's more important. I think that's one of the issues that Jesus had with the Pharisees, was that they cared more about the letter of the law and an appearance of righteousness. In the end, all the Pharisees back in the Bible cared about was, 1, following the law verbatim, and 2, looking good in front of other people's eyes. They cared more about looking like a good person than actually being a good person. They'd rather be an evil person but be perceived as a good person than be a good person and be looked down upon in some way. They cared more about status and reputation and perceived righteousness than actually being a good person. In the same regard, they cared more about the exact, literal letter of the law than the meaning behind it or the impact it had on society. It was literally just to obey orders. It doesn't matter what the orders are. Like, it could be like, okay, well, the law says you have to kill these people. Okay, kill them. Like, there's no room for compassion or understanding of people's circumstances. That's the main thing Jesus was going with the Pharisees about. Is like they cared more about the letter of the law and how they looked. They cared more about vanity, and they cared more about status and just following orders. As far as they were concerned, the most righteous thing they could do is just do what their authorities told them. Whoever had a higher power or status or authority or better wealth or a higher position or a higher rank, basically, whatever the government tells you to do, you should do that. And it's evil to disagree with the government. And it's also more important to care what your neighbors think about you than actually being a good person. Whereas Jesus is more like saying, hey, it's more important to actually be a good person than what people think of you. And it's more important to do the right thing than to obey authority. And again, yes, in society, to some degree, you have to care what people think about you, and you have to have some, obedience to authority. That's how society works. Both of those things are necessary. But taking to them extremes is usually leading to a very corrupt society. I mean, imagine if I tell you, imagine somebody's whole value system is based off of obey authority and care what other people think about you. That doesn't sound like a very good person now, does it? He had no alibi. The police had everything other than physical evidence. It wasn't surprising that Oishi took a chance. He probably didn't expect me to step in, but what I did was too little to avert his suspicion of Satoshi-kun. Oishi believed that Satoshi-kun did it. He was waiting for Satoshi-kun to fall apart and confess. Here's the thing, Oishi, if you care that much about punishing Satoshi about this, maybe you should have done something about, the abuse of Satoshi and Satoko. And granted, I know it's technically a different timeline, but, maybe you could have done something about Teppei. But then again, in Timeline 3, he went full psycho. Eventually, in a later version of that, events in an anime that made a small change to stories, they actually have Oishi going down Watanagashi Festival and just shooting everybody with a gun. So, that's what both Oishi and I were thinking. But that hypothesis was destroyed later on. I'll not talk about it now. But Oishi's theory will be disproven and the police will be thrown into shock. A question comes to mind, that is, who saved Satoshi-kun? I can only think of the possibility that the Sonozaki family invented the culprit. Alright, the person who was on the drugs. It's on the drugs. The cops are smart enough to separate us during questioning. Oishi didn't come to talk to me. His aim was Satoshi-kun and nobody else. I got a young cop who just talked about ordinary things. He must have been trying to ease me into the interrogation. When I realized that, the clumsy way he spoke began to frustrate me. Is Satoshi-kun alright? I didn't think Oishi really bought my testimony. He must have been trying to get Satoshi-kun to confess in spite of that. All I could do was pray that he'd keep quiet. The phone on the desk rang, and the cop picked it up. This is Kumagai. What? All right. I understand. Right away. Yep, and told me that somebody had come to retrieve me. Looked like Satoshi-kun had to stay. Well, that's not good. Were they going to continue the interrogation just because he had nobody to pick him up? Again, we should be like, who would be coming to pick me up? That's the thing you have to think about. So it's like, I need to be like, hey, get me Oishi now. I do not trust the people coming to pick me up. Although maybe I should have been worrying more about myself. Yeah, again, had you gone to Oishi to save yourself, Oishi would have been protective of you. And in his protection of you, he would have protected Satoshi. So, because you didn't ask Oishi for help in protecting you, Satoshi-kun dies. Which means the only way to save Satoshi's life is to ask Oishi to protect you. The hag had probably heard about me by now since I revealed my true identity to police. I couldn't hide any longer. But I could talk to fucking Oishi. I was going to receive some sort of punishment. Obviously, you're underestimating, but then again, we see how panicked she is in the anime. So, I'm just saying. And of course, because we're kept away like this, we're not there to protect Satoshi. Honestly, if we just asked Oishi to protect us, Satoshi wouldn't die. But because we're gone, and Mion is also subjected to forcing us to do what she has to do, Satoshi loses his, emotional crutch that we are in the situation to lean on. Let alone the physical protection of us and the police protect him from whatever kills him. I had no idea what she'd end up doing to me. The degree of punishment for a traitor is always severe in the world of the Sonozakis. A traitor? How? Like, I could understand if, they're upset that I joined the police to try to bring them down, which I was suggesting to avoid what's happening here. But it's not like the punishment is, she's just gonna, punch us a few times in the face, It's not like we're getting off light like that. So, if we knew the future of what was actually going to happen in regards to us and the nail thing, as well as, Satoshi's going to die if we go with her to Oryu's, I should have just... Because here's the thing. There was no reason for the Sonozakis to punish Shion as severely as they do. It doesn't excuse what Shion does later in this timeline, but it does explain it. Here's the thing. I feel that if Shion hadn't had to be punished like this, if basically Oryu's like, hey, I'm a bit miffed that you didn't go to the school. I'm not going to help you with shit. But just take care of yourself, okay? Bye. If it was literally just a verbal reprimand, or even just a couple punches in the face, just normal shit when it comes to that sort of stuff, then fine. But here's the thing. Forcing her to rip out her fingernails is excessive. And you're like, oh, it could have been worse. That's like saying you killed somebody, but you're like, well, I could have killed them worse. Maybe like, oh, you shot someone in the head with, I don't know, a Gauss cannon from a warthog. But you're like, well, I could have stabbed them with a toothpick 1 trillion times. That would have been more painful. The punishment must be carried out. If it is to protect the family's reputation, it's carried out no matter what. How is it protecting the reputation? If anything, doesn't it make it worse? What reputation are you upholding? That you're assholes? That you're sadistic motherfuckers that don't deserve to live? Like, here's the thing. The only thing it teaches us in that situation, it'd be like the whole thing with the giantess dating Sam. Like, oh, she wants to be respected. Like, you have to follow orders. So I'm just going to crush a person's skull with my fingers. That's not protecting reputation. That's just saying ruling through fucking fear and intimidation and physical coercion. I mean, literally any being, human or otherwise, like even like supernatural things, like a lot of religions almost like put people into fucking Stockholm syndrome. Like, again, religion is good, but a lot of people tend to have very, very poor execution of that in a way that is very emotionally unhealthy. So I'm just saying this. All this does is like, yes, the Sonozakis, we will fucking hurt you if you cross us. And even then, it'd be one thing to say, okay, if there's somebody that really pisses you off, sure. And even then, like later on, you're listening, like, oh, the elder Oreo was being easy on Sonozaki, that she would have punished her worse, and she was blessing the relationship with Satoshi and them. Well, here's the thing. If you're going to let them be in a relationship, then at least try to give some protection afterward. If you're going to be that fucking controlling, then give some benefit to it. Like, if you're going to give all this abuse and punishment and overbearing control, then at least there should be some positive to weigh this scale out. You can't be abusive and neglectful, but also overly controlling and give no assistance. Like, at that point, what possible positive is there to having anything to do with you in any regards? Like, there is no upside. There is no justification. Maybe I should kiss my pinky finger while I still can. Okay, the fact that you're even joking about this with yourself means you need to, like, it's not too late. You haven't stepped out the front door with these people yet. Go to Oishi and be like, hey, though honestly at this point you should have known. Because here's the thing. You've had how many days of just sitting around staring at the fucking ceiling? I mean, it's the 80s. Does television really exist back then? Mario didn't even exist. Nintendos weren't even real yet. Okay? You're going to be an elderly person before Mario learns how to do a spin jump. Okay? Just saying, you've had days to think this over. Heck, you had all the time that you were in the fucking school to think this over. You've had years to think this over. And like I said, yes, maybe you could have came up with a better idea if you had more time to think about it. In terms of ally, whatever. Oh, fine, well, whatever. But here's the thing: the moment you said the shit to Oishi, you should have told him right then and there. He has an alibi. I was with him. I'm Shion Sonozaki. They're like, check my register. You should have also been like, hey, I also need your protection. So does he. He's like, what? You think he killed his aunt, when in actuality, it was the Sonozakis. They also killed his parents and the damn construction worker. I don't have evidence, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened. That being said, I snuck out of the school that they want to send me to because they banished me from fucking town. I came back in and I've been living in secret. Because I know if they know I'm here, they're going to hurt me, possibly kill me. And especially if I'm saying this stuff to you now, they're definitely going to murder me. Painfully. They're not going to make it, like, painless. They're going to make a fucking example of it. They're like fucking crucify me in the middle of the fucking city, or disembowel me and set my organs adrift on the fucking, swamp, or they're going to, like, wrap me in a fucking futon and let me drown for, like, 3 fucking days. Main point is this. They already were not going to be nice to me to the point that I was pretending to be my sister so they wouldn't hurt me. The fact that I'm even telling you this, let alone the fact that I'm convinced they're guilty of all the murders, tells me one simple thing. They're going to kill me. I cannot go back to Hinamizawa or I will die. You also need to protect Satoshi and Satoko now, because they might kill them as revenge against me. Heck, I'm not sure, but I think you might need to protect my sister Mion. But I'm not sure how that works, because technically she's supposed to be the successor of the family, but at the same time, she's also kind of a situation where, you know, it's kind of like that situation where, you know, you're a sailor and you crash on an island with some, you know, odd religion where they think God comes down as a person that they don't need to free by killing him. So where then they basically capture the sailor against his will and hold him as a prisoner. But they treat him like a king and do everything they can to make him happy. All the food and sex he could possibly want. And then they fucking murder him ritualistically in a barbaric, very violent, painful way, and then eat his flesh. That's basically the situation that's going with Mion. She's in a position of privilege, but one that she has no choice or power in, and at any point, should she fail in any expectation, very bad occurrences. And she may just be punished literally for what I'm saying right now. So, literally, I was trying not to cover for him because I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to die. They're going to murder me, okay? And it's like, well, can we move you really far from town? I am very, very much concerned about a supernatural thing about our village. You know, the curse. And you're like, well, that's just a superstition. Yes, I understand that's just a superstition. And I even agree with you, Oishi-san, that it's stupid. But do you have any idea how much that was beat into my head when I was younger? Okay, I am a citizen of Hinamizawa. That is something that's been instructed into me over and over and over and over again. So, I think I'll be fine as long as I stay Okonomiya, but we need... Like, you can fucking adopt us, Oishi. You gotta, like, adopt 4 kids. You don't have a wife or kids, right? Well, guess what? Now you do. You have children. You have 4 kids. But the fact that we're even making this joke, that I'm just saying this. Yes, it'd be weird for other people to think a certain thing, and even then, even if people knew, like, oh, these people are Yakuza and extreme religious people, you know, you're not part of the family, like, oh, they'll be easy on a family member, and heck, maybe they should be. But I'll say this. Anyone who's actually, like, the person who is best suited to know somebody else is somebody who actually is around them. So I'd say in this situation, nobody is more qualified to understand. And even then, even Shion is underestimating. I mean, at least they're not really chopping off her fucking finger. But still, the things that occur are way too severe. And honestly, if it wasn't for, like, you know, the psychological stress of this future thing that's about to occur right here, or Satoshi's death, Shion would have been fine. She never would have gone full psycho or done anything. Again, does it justify or excuse what she did? No, she's still very much in the wrong for what she does to Mion and Rika and Satoko and Keiichi. But I would say this, she would never have gone that route if the finger thing never happened. Or if Satoshi were still alive. Or if she didn't go into the fucking shrine. That's another thing. After this, like, even then, you're still... Even this amount of concern that you have to be able to joke with yourself like this, you should go back to Oishi and ask for protection. Like, even if you're even a tiny bit of a joke in your mind about this, the fact that you're even kind of joking with yourself like this about, you need to go back. You're being stupid by going with these people. Next off is this. Like, no amount of indoctrination or Stockholm Syndrome excuses not just getting Oishi's help in this circumstance. The other thing is this. Given after these events, where they literally just rip your fucking fingernails out over just disagreeing about what school to go to. and that they're super religious to the point that the religious laws of the Oyashiro-sama, shrine are like above their Yakuza laws. Like, it's at the point that if Mion herself stepped foot into the shrine without permission, they would have executed her themselves. Okay? And yet you not only went in, but you brought Keiichi too? Someone who's a newcomer to the village and has no idea about things. Like, you know better at that point, Shion. Is it justified for them to kill you over it? No. But you at least know they're fucking psycho about that shit. You at least know that they would react that way. Keiichi doesn't know shit. And there's no reason for him to. Because at the end of the day, if he did, the first reaction he should have is to leave the fucking city. And just flip everybody off while driving away really fucking fast. I asked the young cop, just in case, hey, did you know that in America, if a condemned criminal gets arrested in a state which has banned capital punishment, they'll refuse to send him to the state prosecuting him if that state hasn't banned it? Huh? Maybe it was too difficult for him. He just looked puzzled. A glossy black car was waiting for me in the front of the police station. Okay, we haven't actually physically left yet. It is not too late to fix this. A few men from my dad's office bowed to me. It's been a long time, Shion-san. Where's Kasai? Kasai had been helping me ever since my escape from the school. They wouldn't allow him to walk free. How's Sis doing? Does she have something to say about this? We were only told to bring you to the main house. Please ask her when you get there. After saying that, he escorted me to the car. It's not too late for me to run around and wave my arms screaming, save me. We have not crossed the point of no return. A man sat on either side. Okay, we're inside the car now. Point of no return. Game over. Hmm. 19 days until the Watanagashi.